Right, so this episode started off weird and just kept getting weirder, as we saw the return of the classic Sogetsu robes, as two masked characters dueled it out to see who would come out on top. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we'll be talking about all things episode 76 of the Yugioh Go Rush anime series. An overall average episode that did progress some character storylines, while giving us a big tease that left a fishy aftertaste in our mouths. So, with that being said, let's get started, as I want to start by talking about Epoch and her dueling journey, because I've really liked this sort of steady build-up that we've been getting, as she's playing the card game equivalent of a tsundere, in saying things like how she's not interested in dueling, yet we clearly see, by her asking questions and her buying booster packs, that she is interested in, well, dueling. She's just not overly able to admit it yet. And I think when that does happen, that will kind of be towards the end of her character arc development process. Now, with all this Epoch interaction, it does however seem that with this storyline, they're really making it so that Yugioh doesn't get involved with this tournament. And the tournament itself is feeling rather secondary. So I'm kind of wondering how they're going to bring this tournament back around and make it feel like the important focal point. Because we've not really had a Yu-Gi-Oh series where the tournament feels like an afterthought. But here we are. We haven't seen Yugioh earning any points apart from his duel against the corrupt Manabu. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to retcon that, or if they even are. Now speaking of the tournament, this brings up Manabu, or should I say, Neo MIK's General study. Now this I disliked. This whole episode was a character building episode for both Epoch and Manabu, and for the most part I think they succeeded in this. But the journey to getting to Manabu's growth and breaking that general study gimmick was just unbearable. Now, it's nothing new for Manabu's character. He is over the top and he has a massive ego. This we already knew and have had established already, which does make him a very hot and cold character, as I often find myself liking him in one section but then really disliking him in another. It's just that with Manabu's character progression and projection throughout the series so far, this has been a constant rinse and repeat, and it's kind of getting repetitive and old now. So I was hoping that with the last installment that we had, it was kind of like a lesson for Manabu to overcome his egotistical ways, but instead, he's right back at it. Now, let's play devil's advocate and look deeper into why this change happened for him. Well, we know that Manabu is a prideful character, and he very much enjoys his time with his friends, and obviously he liked the high position that he had obtained in MIK. But after losing to Yugioh, all of that disappeared. He betrayed MIK, and with Phaser still leading the ship in that regard, it most likely left him feeling like he can't return there, which leads to the creation of his new branch, Neo MIK. His friends saw him for who he really was in his slimy and weird, negative behavior and attitude, and since becoming a butler, they haven't really interacted with Manabu since then. Thus the need for friends/people to surround himself with. Now, this obviously goes with Manabu kidnapping people that lose to him in a duel as a general study. And finally, becoming said butler, and doing those tasks for Mayuda and Dinios. This would be degrading and damaging for anyone's pride. Thus, the need for Manabu to kind of rebuild himself and to feel powerful once more, thus leading to him targeting the elderly and the weak and beating them easily. He even beats Mayuda in a duel, which is one of the two people that treated him like a slave. Mix all that with the points that I've said already, and his personality of what we know of Manabu, then we get this abomination. As a final side note to Manabu's character, it was nice seeing how he still has some pride/respect for his family lineage, even though he ran away from it. We obviously know those circumstances. He expects them to still hold themselves to such a high standards as they expected him to hold himself with while he was there. And obviously seeing a fish as the next sort of like heir really didn't sit well with him. Now, let's talk about the fish, as this was clearly a cheap trick by Studio Bridge to pull a semi-little prank on us viewers, because they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew after the audience saw the Sogetsu robes, everyone would think it's Gakuto underneath that basket, and it'll be a dream matchup that we finally get in seeing Manabu versus Gakuto. But it wasn't. But it does lead to the question, who was it really under that fish mask? Well, the fish head did come loose after the duel, and we do have arms that resemble human arms. And it's likely that this fish isn't actually a fish, but instead a member of the Sogetsu household. Now, we do see a particular character finding the fish, and I do think this is someone completely different. The reason being is because the arms and skin tones do not match from the flashback character and Makoto in this particular episode. Okay, you could argue one had a tan up until now, but we're not going to go there. Instead, I'm going to throw out some other things. In Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's, we had a freaky fish guy with those fish eyebrows on his head. It could be a character that is related to that person, because the ace monsters are relatively similar that we saw in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's and now in Go Rush. So there's one thing. Another possibility is that this character, who we see duel Gakuto, was actually someone sent by the character we see in the flashback, and the person in the flashback is in fact Manabu's character. Manabu's father. Let's go with that. So then, obviously, the fish is just like a servant? Maybe? Either way, we know that one other character from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's could also fit the bill for being Makoto, or at least like a descendant from a character from 7's. And that person could be Eugene. We don't actually know much about the history of the Goha siblings, except from the fact that they were hand-selected. And, well, Eugene does also say tuna at the end of all of his sentences, just like Makoto does in this episode. So maybe there's a connection between Eugene and Makoto. Again, only speculation, but we know one thing for certain. The Sogetsu family, no matter in what time period, are full of weird people. Now, as for the duel itself, I do love seeing Manabu's maximum monster whenever it's on the screen, and seeing that it's got a more support, I'm here for it. Now, Makoto's deck, although it was weird, seeing fishes with samurai themes, I kinda liked it, not gonna lie. Lastly, the joke with only Yuki and Yuumu realizing it was Manabu underneath the mask was great, as it shows a bit more comedy to Yuumu's character. And her one-liners I just thought was so fun, and did inject that funness into the episode. But then again, do we really need more comedy when we have a fish dueling? Overall, this episode I thought was an okay episode, but in the grand scheme of things, really didn't need to have a whole 20 minutes dedicated to itself. But at the same time, here we are. Let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts. And of course, I hope you enjoyed this review. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Alligator, madare, goodbye.